The mockery begins. The massive alien vessel appeared above Earth without warning on a crisp October morning. Unlike the dramatic invasions depicted in movies, the ship simply emerged from a brilliant flash of light and settled into a geostationary orbit above the Pacific Ocean. It was perfectly symmetrical, a gleaming sphere of silver metal that reflected sunlight like a second moon. Dr. Sarah Chen, director of the United Earth Space Program, received the first transmission while she was reviewing propulsion data at her office in Geneva. The message was simple and in perfect English. Humans of Earth, prepare to receive the delegation of the Voxian Empire. We come in peace to evaluate your species for potential alliance membership. Within 24 hours, world leaders had gathered in the newly constructed First Contact facility outside Tokyo. Sarah stood among them, her sharp features betraying none of the anxiety churning in her stomach. At 52, she had dedicated her life to space exploration, fighting for every budget dollar and breakthrough. Now, actual aliens were about to judge everything humanity had achieved. The Voxian shuttle descended gracefully, its hull shimmering with energy fields that made Earth's best shields look like children's toys. Three beings emerged, tall, slender creatures with pale blue skin and 4 arms. Their large eyes seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, and when they spoke, their voices carried harmonics that resonated strangely in human ears. "I am Ambassador Crixel," announced the lead alien, his upper arms folded in what might have been a gesture of greeting. "We represent the Voxian Empire, guardians of this galactic sector." The initial meetings were cordial, but quickly turned patronizing. The Voxians toured Earth's space facilities with barely concealed amusement. At the International Space Station, Science Officer Vexian actually laughed when examining the solar arrays. "Such primitive energy collection." Vexian chuckled, his lower arms waving dismissively. "And you consider this your pinnacle of achievement?" Sarah bit her tongue as the aliens continued their inspection. They mocked the Mars rovers as adorable toys, dismissed quantum computing research as elementary mathematics, and called humanity's fusion experiments quaint attempts at understanding basic physics. The final insult came during a presentation of Earth's most advanced spacecraft designs. Commander Zoltar, the military attaché, projected holographic images of human vessels alongside Voxian ships. The comparison was devastating. "Your chemical rockets," Zoltar said, his voice dripping with condescension, "produce less thrust than our maintenance drones. Your proposed antimatter drives are based on flawed theories. And this," he pointed to humanity's pride, the prototype fusion Starship, "this would disintegrate before reaching your system's edge." The room fell silent. World leaders shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Sarah felt heat rising in her face as decades of human achievement were reduced to cosmic kindergarten projects. "Perhaps you'd care to demonstrate your superior technology?" Sarah asked, her voice steady despite her anger. Crixel's mouth curved in what might have been a smile. "Observe." With a gesture, he activated a device on his wrist. The conference room windows polarized as a beam of energy shot from the orbiting mothership. Miles away, in the designated demonstration zone, a decommissioned aircraft carrier was lifted from the ocean, compressed into a sphere the size of a basketball, then gently returned to the water, completely restored and upgraded with alien alloys. "Matter manipulation at the molecular level," Crixel explained casually. "Child's play for any level 3 civilization." "And what level are we?" asked the American president. "Level 1. Barely," Vexian replied. "You've taken your first stumbling steps into space, but lack the fundamental understanding to progress further. Under Voxian guidance, you might reach level 2 in a few centuries." Sarah couldn't contain herself any longer. "And what does this guidance entail?" "Limited technology sharing, resource allocation oversight, and cultural integration programs," Crixel said smoothly, "in exchange for your loyalty and certain contributions to the Empire." "You mean servitude," Sarah stated flatly. The aliens exchanged glances, their expressions unreadable. We prefer to call it junior partnership, Zoltar said. Your species shows potential, but you need proper direction. Left alone, you'll likely destroy yourselves before achieving interstellar capability. After the meeting, Sarah found herself alone with Crixel on the observation deck. Earth hung in the window, a blue jewel against the black of space. Your defiance is admirable but misguided, the ambassador said. We've seen countless species like yours. Pride leads to extinction without proper guidance. Maybe we're different, Sarah replied. Crixel's laugh was like breaking glass. They all say that, but mathematics doesn't lie. Your technology is generations behind. Your understanding of physics is fundamentally flawed. What could you possibly achieve that would surprise us? Sarah turned to face him fully. You want to know what makes humans different? We don't just solve problems. We redefine them. We don't just follow rules. We break them to find new ones. And we never, ever give up. Touching, Crixel said, unmoved. But reality doesn't bend to determination alone. That night, Sarah made secure calls to the most brilliant and unconventional minds she knew. If the aliens wanted to see what humans could do when pushed, she would show them. Project Babel was born in secrecy. Named after humanity's first attempt to reach the heavens, it brought together maverick scientists, rogue engineers, and visionaries deemed too radical for mainstream research. Their mission: build a starship using approaches so unorthodox that even the aliens wouldn't expect them. The team assembled in an abandoned research station in Antarctica, far from prying eyes and alien sensors. Sarah's first recruit was Marcus Rodriguez, a propulsion engineer who had been dismissed from NASA for proposing engines that violated 3 different laws of physics. They say our physics is wrong. Marcus grinned, his wild hair matching his excited energy. Good. That means they won't see this coming. Other recruits included Dr. Yuki Tanaka, a quantum physicist who believed consciousness could influence space-time. Dr. Amara Okafor, whose theories on dark energy manipulation had been labeled mathematical poetry by critics, and Pavel Volkov, a materials scientist who claimed to have created programmable matter in his garage. The aliens, confident in their superiority, barely noticed the increased activity in Earth's scientific community. They were too busy establishing their advisory councils and drafting treaties that would effectively make Earth a client state of the Voxian Empire. 6 months after first contact, Ambassador Crixel called another meeting. The Voxian Senate has approved Earth's probationary membership, he announced. You should feel honored. Few species receive such opportunities. Sarah sat quietly as world leaders debated the terms. The aliens offered advanced medical technology, limited space travel capabilities, and protection from other hostile species. In return, Earth would provide rare minerals, cultural artifacts, and accept Voxian oversight of all technological development. And if we refuse? Asked the Chinese premier. Zoltar's 4 arms spread wide. Then you remain isolated, vulnerable. There are far less benevolent empires in the galaxy. Without our protection. He let the threat hang unfinished. After the meeting, Sarah received an encrypted message from Antarctica. First prototype ready. You need to see this. She arranged a covert trip south, using a climate research expedition as cover. What she found in the underground facility made her question her own sanity. The prototype ship looked nothing like any spacecraft ever designed. It was asymmetrical, covered in what appeared to be random protrusions and exposed circuitry. Cooling pipes wrapped around it like metal vines, and the hull seemed to shift colors depending on the viewing angle. It's hideous, Sarah said, circling the craft. It's beautiful, Marcus countered. Every ugly bit serves a purpose. The asymmetry creates quantum resonance patterns. The exposed systems allow for rapid field repairs. And the hull. He touched the shifting surface. It's not painted. It's thinking. Thinking. Semi-sentient nanomaterial, Pavel explained. It learns and adapts. The uglier it gets, the smarter it becomes. Yuki stepped forward, holding a tablet displaying incomprehensible equations. We're not trying to copy their technology. We're creating something they've never imagined. Something that works because it shouldn't. The power source? Sarah asked. Amara smiled mysteriously. We're tapping into the quantum foam itself. Infinite energy from the space between spaces. The math says it's impossible, which is exactly why it works. Sarah studied their faces, seeing the exhaustion, but also the fire of discovery. How soon can we test it? Small-scale tests are complete, Marcus said. For a full launch, we need 6 months minimum. But there's a problem. He led her to a monitoring station showing satellite imagery. Tiny objects were moving in Earth's orbit, almost invisible against the space background. Alien surveillance drones, Pavel explained. They're watching everything. If they discover what we're doing. Sarah nodded grimly. Then we'd better make sure they don't. Not until it's too late for them to stop us. As she prepared to leave Antarctica, Sarah took one last look at the ugly duckling of a ship that represented humanity's hope. The aliens had laughed at human technology, dismissed human potential, and offered a future of comfortable servitude. They were about to learn why that was a mistake. The real work was just beginning. Building the impossible, the Antarctic winter descended like a thick blanket of secrecy over Project Babel. In the perpetual darkness, the team worked around the clock, their underground facility humming with activity that would have made the Voxians' superior technology seem obsolete if they had bothered to look closely enough. Marcus Rodriguez stood before a holographic display of their ship, now officially christened the Phoenix. The name was Sarah's idea, humanity rising from the ashes of its own limitations. The ship had grown even uglier over the past months, sprouting new appendages and systems that defied conventional design logic. The quantum foam tap is stable, Amara reported, her dark eyes gleaming with triumph. We're pulling energy from the substrate of reality itself. The Voxians measure power in terawatts. We've gone beyond measurement. And they haven't noticed, Sarah asked during one of her clandestine visits. Their sensors can't detect it, Pavel explained, manipulating a piece of the programmable matter. They're looking for energy signatures they understand. We're operating in the spaces between their comprehension. The ship's AI, developed by Dr. Elena Volkov, Pavel's sister and a former gaming AI designer, was unlike anything in science fiction. Instead of cold logic, it operated on intuition and pattern recognition, learning from human creativity rather than pure data. I call her Prometheus, Elena said, patting a console. She doesn't calculate solutions, she imagines them. The Voxians, meanwhile, had established their advisory centers across Earth. They provided selective technology upgrades, medical scanners, atmospheric processors, efficient solar collectors, always with built-in limitations and monitoring systems. Humanity was being slowly domesticated. Ambassador Crixel held regular briefings, each one more patronizing than the last. Your progress is adequate, he would say, reviewing Earth's implementation of Voxian gifts. In a few generations, you might understand the basic principles. But the aliens were blind to the real progress happening in Antarctica. They couldn't conceive that humans would approach problems so differently, so chaotically. Their own development had been linear, logical, built on incremental improvements over millennia. They couldn't imagine a species that would throw out the rulebook entirely. The breakthrough came during a fierce Antarctic storm. The facility's power grid, already strained by their experiments, began to fail. In desperation, Marcus connected the Phoenix's quantum foam tap to the base's systems. What happened next defied explanation. The tap didn't just power the facility. It began rewriting the local laws of physics. Gravity fluctuated. Time dilated. For 17 minutes, the team experienced what Yuki later called reality jazz. We're not just bending space-time, she explained, her usually reserved demeanor cracking with excitement. We're improvising with it. The incident attracted attention. Voxian satellites detected anomalous readings from Antarctica, but the storm provided cover. Still, Sarah knew they were running out of time. "We need to accelerate the timeline," she told the team during an emergency meeting. "The Voxians are planning to formalize Earth's junior status within 3 months. After that, they'll have legal authority to inspect any facility on the planet." "The Phoenix isn't ready," Marcus protested. "The navigation system alone needs." "Make it ready," Sarah interrupted. "We don't need perfection. We need surprise." The team redoubled their efforts. They abandoned traditional testing protocols, instead relying on Prometheus's intuitive modeling. The AI suggested modifications that seemed insane: installing a coffee maker in the quantum core, using music to stabilize the antimatter containment, painting fractal patterns on the hull to confuse targeting systems. "Why does this work?" Sarah asked, watching as a Mozart symphony somehow prevented a catastrophic core breach during testing. Elena shrugged. "Prometheus says the universe has a sense of humor. We're just learning to tell the right jokes." 2 months before the Voxian deadline, disaster struck. A surprise inspection team arrived at the Antarctic facility, led by Science Officer Vexian himself. "We detected unusual energy signatures," Vexian announced, his 4 arms gesturing at scanning equipment. "This region requires investigation." Sarah, who happened to be on site, felt her heart stop. The Phoenix was hidden in a sublevel, but any thorough scan would reveal it. "Just atmospheric research," she said smoothly. "The aurora australis creates interesting electromagnetic effects." Vexian's large eyes narrowed. "Indeed. Then you won't mind if we conduct a full facility scan." Before Sarah could respond, Marcus burst into the room, covered in grease and wearing a manic grin. "Dr. Chen." The coffee maker exploded again. "The whole quantum lab is covered in espresso." It was such an absurd statement that even Vexian paused. "Coffee maker? In a quantum laboratory?" "Caffeine molecule resonance experiment," Marcus explained rapidly. "Trying to create the perfect brew using quantum tunneling. Totally failed. Huge mess. Very embarrassing." The explanation was so ridiculous, so perfectly human, that Vexian's suspicion wavered. The Voxians had noted humanity's obsession with beverages. It fit their prejudices perfectly. "Show me," Vexian demanded. Marcus led them to a lab that had, indeed, been hastily covered in coffee grounds and equipment. The Phoenix's actual quantum core hummed safely 2 levels below, masked by the failed experiment. Vexian left in disgust, muttering about primitive species and their addictions. The inspection team's report dismissed the Antarctic facility as another example of human scientific incompetence. "That was too close," Sarah breathed after they left. "But it worked," Marcus grinned. "They expect us to be stupid, so we gave them stupid." With the inspection crisis averted, the team made final preparations. The Phoenix was as ready as it would ever be, a Frankenstein's monster of impossible physics and desperate innovation. "The launch window opens in 72 hours, Yuki announced. "After that, Voxian orbital patterns will make a stealth launch impossible for 3 weeks. Then we go in 72, Sarah decided. "Success or failure, we show them what humans can do." The night before launch, the team gathered in the Phoenix's cockpit. The ship thrummed around them, Prometheus' presence almost tangible in the air. "You know they'll try to stop us," Pavel said quietly. "They'll try," Sarah agreed, "but they're expecting us to play by their rules, use technology they understand. They have no idea what we've built here." Marcus ran his hand along the pilot's console, which looked more like a DJ's mixing board than spacecraft controls. "Tomorrow, we either make history or make a very big crater. Or both," Elena added cheerfully. They spent the night making final adjustments, checking systems that operated on principles they barely understood themselves. The Phoenix wasn't just a ship. It was a collection of successful accidents, impossible theories, and sheer human stubbornness made manifest. As dawn approached, Sarah received an encrypted message from the surface. The Voxians had scheduled a major announcement for the next day. Ambassador Crixel planned to formally present the treaty that would make Earth a protectorate of the Voxian Empire. Perfect timing, Sarah muttered. Let's give them something else to announce. The team took their positions. Marcus and Alina in the cockpit, Yuki at the quantum navigation station, Pavel monitoring the hull integrity, Amara managing the power core. Sarah strapped into the command chair, feeling the weight of human history on her shoulders. Prometheus, she said, are we ready? The Az voice filled the cabin, somehow managing to sound both mechanical and amused. Define ready. Systems are operational. Success probability is undefined. Adventure probability is 100%. Good enough. Sarah nodded. Begin launch sequence. Outside, the Antarctic ice began to crack. Hidden doors opened in the facility's roof. The Phoenix, ugly and beautiful in its defiance of conventional design, prepared to show the galaxy what humans could achieve when told something was impossible. The Voxians were about to learn that humanity's greatest strength wasn't its technology or resources. It was its ability to imagine the unimaginable and then make it real through sheer determination and creative chaos. As systems powered up and reality itself began to bend around the ship, Sarah smiled grimly. The aliens had laughed at human technology. They were about to discover that the joke was on them. The launch that changed everything. The Phoenix rose from its Antarctic cradle like a fever dream made metal. Ice shattered and sublimated in the wake of its impossible engines. Warning klaxons blared across every Voxian monitoring station on Earth as sensors detected energy signatures that their computers couldn't classify. What in the void is that? Commander Zolter demanded from the orbiting mothership. His four hands danced across holographic controls, trying to make sense of readings that defied every known law of physics. Ambassador Crixel rushed to the command center, his composed demeanor cracking for the first time. Is this some kind of weapon test? Unknown, Zolter replied, his voice tight with confusion. The energy patterns are chaotic, unpredictable. Our systems can't lock onto it. Below, the Phoenix climbed through Earth's atmosphere, leaving a trail of distorted space-time in its wake. Inside the ship, the crew fought to maintain control as reality warped around them. Quantum foam stability at 60%. Amara shouted over the roar of systems operating beyond their design parameters. The universe is fighting back. Let it fight. Marcus grinned manically, his hands flying over controls that seemed to change configuration every few seconds. Prometheus, give me more power to the probability drives. Probability drives? Sarah questioned, gripping her command chair as the ship shuddered. Yeah, I installed them last night, Marcus replied casually. They don't move us through space. They move us through possibilities. The ship lurched as Voxian tractor beams attempted to grab hold. But the Phoenix's constantly shifting hull configuration made it like trying to grasp smoke. The beams slid off surfaces that existed in multiple quantum states simultaneously. They're launching interceptors, Alina reported, her neural link with Prometheus, feeding her real-time tactical data. Standard Voxian attack pattern. Standard won't work against us, Yuki said from her station, initiating quantum uncertainty field. The space around the Phoenix became a blur of probability. The Voxian drones, programmed for precise targeting, found themselves firing at ships that both existed and didn't exist in the same moment. Their weapons passed through afterimages while the real Phoenix danced between possibilities. Impossible. Crixel watched in disbelief. Their vessel is violating causality itself. On Earth, people gathered in streets and public spaces, watching the battle unfold on screens and in the sky. The Voxians had always presented themselves as benevolent overlords, but now they were openly attacking the human ship. The facade was crumbling. Phoenix to Earth. Sarah broadcast on all channels. We are humanity's answer to those who would make us slaves. Watch what happens when you tell humans something can't be done. The ship breached the upper atmosphere, its ugly form silhouetted against the stars. Voxian warships moved to intercept, their sleek forms a stark contrast to the Phoenix's chaotic design. "They're charging main weapons," Pavel warned. "Those could crack a moon." "Then let's not be where they're shooting," Sarah ordered. "Yuki, you said something about folding space." Yuki's smile was serene amid the chaos. "Hold onto your atoms." She activated the theoretical drive system they'd never had time to test. The Phoenix didn't move through space. It convinced space to move around it. The ship appeared to stretch into infinity, existing in all points between its current position and its destination simultaneously, then snapped back into singular existence behind the Voxian fleet. The aliens' confusion was palpable. Their weapons fired into empty space where the Phoenix had been microseconds before. "How?" Zoltar demanded. "No species has achieved stable quantum teleportation." "They're not teleporting," Vexian realized, his scientific mind racing. "They're redefining location itself. It's brilliant. It's insane. It's human," Crixel finished grimly. The Phoenix dove through the Voxian formation, its presence causing havoc with their precisely calibrated systems. Where it passed, artificial gravity fluctuated, shields flickered, and navigation computers returned errors in languages that hadn't been invented yet. "We can't fight them directly," Sarah announced to her crew. "But we can show them what chaos looks like. Prometheus, improvise." The AI's laughter echoed through the ship as it began implementing strategies too random for any logical mind to predict. The Phoenix started broadcasting human music on all frequencies, everything from Beethoven to heavy metal, creating interference patterns that disrupted Voxian communications. It vented waste heat in precise patterns that formed insulting gestures visible from Earth. It duplicated itself across multiple quantum states, appearing to be a dozen ships at once. The Voxian fleet, designed for orderly combat against predictable opponents, began to fall apart. Ships collided as their navigation systems glitched. Weapons misfired. Commanders shouted contradictory orders as their tactical computers crashed trying to process impossible data. "Ambassador," Zoltar called out in frustration, "we need to retreat and regroup. Their chaos is infectious." Crixel watched the Phoenix dance through his fleet, leaving confusion and malfunction in its wake. For the first time in centuries, he felt something like fear. Not of human weapons or technology, but of human imagination unleashed. "All ships, fall back to high orbit," he ordered reluctantly. "Establish a containment perimeter." As the Voxian ships retreated, the Phoenix broadcast a message on all frequencies. Sarah's voice rang clear across the solar system. "To the Voxian Empire and any others listening. Humanity declines your generous offer of servitude. We will make our own way among the stars, with all the chaos and creativity that defines us. Any who come as friends are welcome. Any who come as masters will find us difficult to domesticate." The transmission ended with what would become humanity's new anthem among the stars, a mashup of various Earth songs that somehow formed a perfect harmony despite having no logical reason to work together. Much like humanity itself. In the aftermath, the Voxians maintained a wary distance from Earth. Their reports to the Galactic Council were grudging but respectful. Species 471b, humans, has achieved unorthodox faster-than-light capability. Recommend upgrading classification to Level 2. Warning: approach with caution. Standard protocols ineffective. The Phoenix returned to Earth, not as a prototype, but as proof of concept. Within months, shipyards across the planet began constructing vessels based on its impossible principles. Each one was unique, ugly, and somehow perfect. Marcus Rodriguez became the head of Earth's new Chaos Engineering Corps. Yuki Tanaka founded the Institute of Impossible Physics. Pavel and Elena Volkov created self-evolving materials that made each human ship a living work of art. Amara Okafor's quantum energy theories revolutionized power generation across the solar system. And Sarah Chen, she became Earth's first ambassador to the stars, traveling in a diplomatic vessel that looked like a flying cathedral made of scrap metal and dreams. When other species asked how humans had achieved so much so quickly, she would smile and say, "We're very good at being told what we can't do." The Voxians eventually sent a new ambassador, one trained in what they now called human logic. His first act was to present Sarah with a gift, a perfectly crafted model of the Phoenix. "We may have misjudged you," Ambassador Thexus admitted. "Your approach to the universe is unorthodox." "That's one word for it," Sarah replied, examining the model. It was beautiful, symmetrical, everything the real Phoenix wasn't. "We've learned something from you," Thexus continued. "Sometimes the universe needs a little chaos." Sarah placed the model on her desk, next to a coffee-stained napkin covered in Marcus's original impossible equations. "And we've learned something too. The universe has a sense of humor. We just had to learn to tell the right jokes." Years later, when humanity had spread across the stars in their ugly, impossible ships, a young Voxian student asked Ambassador Crixel about first contact with humans. "What was our biggest mistake?" the student inquired. Crixel thought of that day when he'd laughed at human technology, dismissed their potential, offered them a place as servants rather than equals. "We forgot that the universe loves surprises," he replied. "And humans? They're the universe's favorite punchline." Somewhere in deep space, the Phoenix still flew, its hull covered in equations that worked despite making no sense, its engines powered by improbability, its course set for wherever imagination led. It was ugly, impossible, and absolutely perfect, a testament to what happens when humanity is told you can't. Because humans don't just reach for the stars. They grab them, reshape them, and use them to light the way for others. And sometimes, if you listen carefully to the cosmic background radiation, you can hear the universe laughing along with them. The joke, it turned out, was never on humanity. The joke was thinking that humanity could ever be contained by someone else's idea of what was possible.